Thanda ukunibingelela nonke ngegama lenkosi yethu Yeshua HaMashiach. Amen. Langa namhlanje it's a very difficult one. When you are asked to come and talk to the church and you are not given a specific topic, Babu Maseko, kuba khona ukuntlantlata, particularly because I thought today let's look at things in a different way. Sisase amasabatha ngithi, we're all Adventists. Are there any visitors? Ukungase amasabatha. Any visitors ungase amasabatha? Hayi, umama umasabatha. Hayi. It's not easy to preach to Adventists. It's honestly not easy. Adventists are studious as far as the Bible is concerned. There's very little we don't know about the Bible. And yet, over the years, Siya Masabata, we resist change. We resist new information. Kukhona abanye abantu abangathi bekumnandi enkonzweni, it was so nice, but belingekho iphepha levangeli. Basasikhona abantu abanjalo ne? And iphepha levangeli, as far as I've been hearing it since I became an Adventist, there's very little spirituality in it. It's a story. It's a story that is told about a certain place, a certain person, or a certain church, and as you know, all of them end up as good stories. Yinganekwane. So, thina badala ke iyasihlupha lento lokuthi you go to church the whole day, akuzange kube nephepha levangeli. And the other thing that worries us as Adventists, especially the older ones, Uguti would say, Usandile last week preached very, very well. You know, he was asking us, is this glass half full or half empty? But the conclusion of the matter was that there is water in the glass. Whether you say it's half full or it's half empty, it makes no difference. Angit? The only problem ngesemoni yakhe ukuthi azange athi uEllen White uthi kule ndawo. So it troubles us as elderly Adventists. Am I talking to someone? Yeah. The challenge with us as Adventists, particularly African Adventists, is that we've got very little documentation of who we are as Africans. Before siqhubekela phambili, let me read two verses esizogcina ngawo. Exodus 1 verse 8. I'm not good in memorizing the Bible. Then there arose another Pharaoh or Pharaoh who knew nothing about Joseph. And there arose another Pharaoh who knew nothing about Joseph. Exodus 14 verse 14 and 15 says something like, I'm paraphrasing. The Mizraims that you see, or the Egyptians that you see behind you, you will see them no more. So if you don't understand what I'm going to talk about, remember those two verses, Pell. And then when you get home, read those verses and say, this is what the sermon was all about. Okay? Let's park that. So I've finished preaching. I want to talk to you now. I want to talk to you and try and show you the dangers of not documenting information. The dangers of not reading information. I'm going to make an example. Babu Ngaman, how many of us know, and now I'm getting into politics, how many of us know Uguti, the Dlaminis in Swaziland are not the actual kings of Swaziland? Yes. Who are the actual kings of Swaziland? They are the Masegos. And when the British came in South Africa, or in Southern Africa, one of the things that they decided to do, and you'll read an article, there's an article that I'll circulate through Mdala, that they went back to England and said, these tribes are too many to govern, so we need to group them, right? We need to but akuse amaZulu. Amahlubi akuse amaZulu. But they decided to say, even the province will call it KwaZulu, so that anybody within those borders, whether we Bhaca, we Hlubi, or whatever, you'll be under the Zulu kingdom. So similarly in Swaziland, they actually had to exile the two sons of the original Maseko, the king, who was not paying loyalty to the British monarchy, are exiled. One is in Malawi. That's why Malawi khona Babu Maseko. Sisa. Babu Maseko lo wasebhalfu ubuye Malawi ne, he's part of the royalty. The others are in Lesotho. Lesotho, as you come this way. What I'm trying to say, Uguti, we have a problem as Africans. Because we do not document what we see, we do not read what is documented, we cannot stand on our own. Tinabanye sikhule sifunda incwadi ekuthiwa Umbuso kaShaka. That was a very, very good book. In fact, I thought I understood the Zulu history when I was reading that book. And that book was translated by a Zulu person, but it was not written by a Zulu person. It was written by a British person to distort our history. So man bega ama DVD that are called Shaka Zulu. The only thing I enjoy there is how they dress and it's very, very beautiful. And we saw it Maguyo Chalwa Isilo a few weeks ago, right? The Zulus have got a rich culture. The problem with them is they do not document it. So Umbuso kaShaka was a very, I remember that book, it starts ngokuthi wena baba. That's how it starts. It says wena baba. They were trying to proliferate, they were trying to distort history yakwaZulu so that they can change the history yakwaZulu so that when they exile abantu abanjengabo Dingane, etc., baba exile into Britain, it should be acceptable ukuthi Zulus or Africans are inferior to Europeans. Okay. Why am I saying this? Some of you may have heard when I said Yeshua HaMashiach. I promise you, if we do not, or if we did not document history, yes, South Africa, Mandela, and all those things, 400 years down the line, Mandela will be a white person. You know that. If we do not take our history, guard it jealously, we will lose it. Years down the line, if we are sure Gagabui, things will be different. Mandela would be a white person. Utambo will be a white person. Julius Nyerere will be a white person. Africa will be a white African continent. It's happening slowly. It's happening slowly. Bakhona phakathi kwethu abakhubekile last week usandile la engafakanga isuthu bakhona abazokhubeka ngoba ngifakanga itie. Because we are wired like that as Adventists. The only dress code we should have is to be European or Western. Even our music, if it doesn't come from Christian women, and these boys sing and they do this, bakhona abalimalayo. We are not moving with the new knowledge that we come across. And knowledge is out there. Let me tell you a little bit, and I'm not going to go into the actual archives and give you the archives. But in the conference yesterday, when they decided to compile the Bible, and last time I spoke here, I said the Bible as it stands now, it's sufficient for your salvation. You will be saved by knowing what you know in the Bible today. There's no new information that will come into the Bible that will make you a better Christian. It will only make you understand things differently. It will only make you understand where I'm going with what I'm trying to say. When they were sitting in the Council of Nicaea, they were deciding which of the books are going to suit our agenda. The books that are not suiting our agenda, we're going to have to exclude them. The only book that they struggled to exclude is the book of Esther. And we had a very beautiful sermon a few weeks ago. With chapter 6 is coming. Remember that sermon? Are unable to follow the descendants of Noah, you will not understand what I'm trying to say. Because the descendants of Noah, all the way to Abraham, as you know them, are actually Africans. Right? They go through part of Mizraim, which is Egypt today. And that is where the generations of Abraham all the way to Yeshua are coming from one of the sons of Noah. Very, very difficult stuff. When I discovered that, I realized that, man, we have a problem here. We really have a problem here. Because we are now worshiping. We think we are worshiping Yeshua HaMashiach. We are worshiping Jesus, a God. So what they do, they say, let's not stop the Israelites from leaving Mizraim, leaving Egypt. Let's not stop them. Pharaoh even says, you can go, leave Egypt in chapter 13. Leave Egypt today, because otherwise all of us are going to die after the firstborns had been killed. Leave Egypt. But don't go too far, so that when we need you, you will be within easy access. And he even says, go and worship your God. And pray for me as well. Pray for me as Pharaoh. Pray for me as Mizraim. Right? So that while we are allowed to worship God, we should not worship God truly. Because information has been hidden. Information has been... If you cannot decipher the Bible, you will have a problem. You will have a problem. So what we are sitting with here is selective reading and understanding. Last time I was here, I actually asked a question. And people realized, man, sikhule kuthiwa. Remember, I even made an example when they were saying in Revelation chapter 7, I think, where they say Michael and the devil had a fight. Ne? And I asked, who's Michael? A lot of us said it's Yeshua. Because that's how we grew up. Ne? So you grow up knowing something. Go back and research and say, is this true? Is this the correct understanding? Today we know people die and they go to heaven. Because that's what is being preached all the time. Then, boom, as we grow up, we come across a verse that says, they are going into the grave, they are going to wait for the second coming of Yeshua. So why not change that mindset of saying people are now in heaven and say, but the Bible says they are here on earth. So the more you discover information, is the more you need to challenge yourself and say, how do I align with this verse? Because we cannot deny that this verse exists. So, back to Leviticus 23. The reason why we are not understanding Leviticus 23 as Adventists is because of the generational curses. I've spoken about them last time. The generational curses are very, very clear with Leviticus 23 or Deuteronomy 20. No, Leviticus 26, Deuteronomy 28. Very, very important. God says there, if you do not worship me truly, I will take away the blessings that I've given you and give them to people who will oppress you. And when you look at the generational cases in those two chapters, don't forget them. Leviticus 26 and Deuteronomy 28. So 26 and 28. Deuteronomy 28 is repeating what has been said in Leviticus 20. In Leviticus 26, check what are the cases that God is talking about. And ask yourself, worldwide, who are going through these cases? Then it will tell you that the people who are going through these cases are the original Hebrews or Jews. It says, one of the verses says, you are going to bear children. And your children, you are going to give your children over to be enslaved. And they will work for your oppressor.
Gonna light up the whole wide world. Gonna let it shine.